I finally got my hands on some Azerbaijani history books, and unfortunately, the reality of what is being taught to Azerbaijani children turned out to be much more perverse than I could have imagined. From the first page to the last, these history school books are full of misinformation and propaganda that serve the political agenda of the Azerbaijani authoritarian regime, namely, laying out the foundations to justify the pending ethnic cleansing of the indigenous Armenian population from their ancestral homelands. In this video, I will debunk two of the most outrageous claims from this book. First, the belief that there were no Armenians in Artsakh in 1805, and second, the claim that Yerevan was originally inhabited by Azerbaijani Turks and not Armenians. But I also want to explore the motives behind this misinformation and why anyone should care about what's being taught in these books. For this video, I'm focusing on the history book for 5th graders, which starts off with a national anthem, some nationalistic quotes, and a portrait of Heyday Aliyev. The book then goes into a tirade about how the land of Azerbaijan is the center of some of the oldest known civilizations, but most of it is currently occupied by Armenia. Throughout the book, it refers to Armenia as West Azerbaijan and talks about several battles in which Armenians resort to dirty tactics, but Azerbaijan heroically wins in the end. Battles that have no names, no dates, and I could not find any sources for them. Armenians are depicted as the embodiment of pure evil, at one point even outright claiming that Armenians would kill an unborn baby. Imagine being a student in Azerbaijan, being taught these ideas as absolute truths. It's diabolical. Thankfully, every now and then the book makes claims that are very easily debunked. So what are the false narratives being peddled to children as young as 10? Let's dive in. When Russia occupied Karabakh in 1805, the Treaty of Kurakachay was signed. This treaty does not mention Armenians, and therefore the book surmises that Armenians did not live in Karabakh at that time, thus proving that Karabakh belongs to the people of Azerbaijan. So, were there Armenians living in Karabakh in 1805 or earlier? Yes and yes. As the rest of the world already knows, history did not start being recorded in the 19th century. Urartian kings left cuneiform inscriptions calling this region Artsakh, a name that Armenians continue to use to this day. I have a dedicated video on the connection between Armenians and Urartians and will not be going into that again. The Greek geographer Strabo also referred to an Armenian region that he called Orchestine, which is believed to be a rendering of the name Artsakh. During this period, Karabakh or Artsakh was a province in the Kingdom of Armenia from 189 BC to 387 AD. But let's give the Azerbaijani textbook the benefit of the doubt and assume that it's not making the claim that Armenians were never there, just that there weren't any Armenians left in 1805 when this treaty was signed. Would that make the statement any more true or even significant? Unfortunately, I could not find any demographic data from around this time. But could there be any other type of evidence left behind by a group of people living someplace for a long period of time? Yes. In 301, when Artsakh was a province in the Kingdom of Armenia, Christianity was declared as the state religion. What followed was the building of churches and monasteries, lots of them, many of which are still standing to this day. When it comes to these monasteries, the writing is on the wall. No, I mean that literally. The walls of these ancient churches are etched with centuries-old Armenian writings. The book also claims that Armenians were moved from Ottoman territories to not only Artsakh, but also other Azerbaijani territories. It is not explained why those lands are Azerbaijani, but I don't want to get sidetracked. Structures like these are abundant throughout the entire history of the region, and they completely invalidate Azerbaijan's claim that there were no Armenians living in the region, not just in 1805 in Artsakh, but throughout history and Greater Armenia as well. More on that later. But that is exactly why anytime one of these ancient structures falls under Azerbaijani control, it vanishes off the map. So for questions and tasks number 3, which document proves that Karabakh is the land of Azerbaijan? The actual answer is none. While it is true that the Treaty of Kurakchai does not mention Armenians, the treaty is about the integration of the region into the Russian Empire. It makes no mention of any population whatsoever. By that logic, nobody was living in Karabakh when the treaty was signed. And even if the treaty had mentioned certain populations, it would still prove nothing, because no matter how badly Azerbaijan wants it, some treaty signed with Russia holds zero value against millennia of archaeological evidence. But this isn't the only case where the book distorts history to make absurd territorial claims. The book continues to make similar claims about Yerevan, the current capital of Armenia, this time seemingly without any basis. The book claims that Azerbaijani Turks have been living in Yerevan since, quote, the earliest times of history, while Armenians were resettled into these lands in the 19th century and would later commit genocide against the native Turkish population, which is so twisted, but I want to stay on topic. So, were there Armenians living in Yerevan prior to the 19th century? Absolutely. Funnily enough, the book seems to be aware of the absurdity of this claim, as it gets weirdly defensive and mentions Echmiadzin, which is near Yerevan, and how even Armenian sources of the time wrote that it was in the country of Azerbaijan. But what is Echmiadzin, and why would they even bring it up? Echmiadzin is an ancient Armenian cathedral that's regarded as the oldest cathedral in the world. It was built in 301 AD in the Kingdom of Armenia. I have no idea who these Armenian sources who claim that it was in the, quote, country of Azerbaijan are, but instead of going through the archaeological angle again, I want to focus on that term, the country of Azerbaijan. Here's a letter written in 1918 by the Embassy of Persia in Istanbul addressed to the Ottoman Empire. It is a letter officially protesting the naming of the recently created state in the Caucasus called Azerbaijan. Essentially, the Persians weren't happy about a new Ottoman Turkish puppet state concocted on their northern border under a name that was historically used to refer to a region within Persia. They actually put the name Azerbaijan in quotes. That's not me being funny, by the way. So if the cathedral was built in the country of Azerbaijan, I think it's safe to say that sometime between the years 301 and 1918, the Persian Empire would have noticed the country on their northern border. Remember though, we're not claiming that no Turk ever lived in Yerevan. In 1582, the city did fall to Turkish invaders, in 1604 to the Persians, and finally in 1827 to the Russians. But the book insinuates that Armenians were not native to the region, when in reality, Yerevan has been part of the Armenian kingdom since at least the 6th century BC. But the question remains, why would the Azerbaijani regime resort to such misinformation? Examining the disturbing content found within Azerbaijani history books sheds light on the manipulative tactics commonly employed by authoritarian regimes. Azerbaijan is consistently ranked among the worst countries for civil liberties. The systematic dissemination of misinformation serves to divert attention from internal problems by justifying aggressive actions against neighboring Armenia. Income inequality, corruption, human rights violations, and fraudulent elections can all wait because there's a big bad Armenian next door who threatens your very existence. Furthermore, Instilling fear and animosity towards Armenia is a tool to justify excessive military spending. By perpetuating a sense of constant threat, Azerbaijan's dictator Aliyev can justify bolstering his military might, which enables him to suppress dissenting voices domestically and reinforce his own position of power. Essentially, by distorting the past, he can shape the present narrative and control the future trajectory of his nation. And if that trajectory involves war or genocide, well, that's just the low cost of doing business for him. But don't take my word for it. Here it is directly from him.
İndiki Ermənistan bizim torpağımızdır. Və mən bunu dəfələrlə deyəndə sonra mənə irad tuturlar, çalışırlar irad tutmağı ki, mənim ərazi iddiam var. Mən bunu tarixi həqiqət kimi deyirəm. Və bununla paralel olaraq mən hesab edirəm ki, birgə səylərlə biz Qərbi Azərbaycana qayıdış konsepsiyasında işləməliyik. İndi Qarabağ münaqişəsi həll olunandan sonra bizim gündəliyimizdə duran məsələ budur.
Finally, if you are an Azerbaijani who grew up studying these history books, please understand my goal is not to ridicule you or attack the Azerbaijani people. Recognizing these tactics is crucial for fostering peace among nations. There is nothing wrong with being a young country. The age of a nation does not diminish its legitimacy or its potential. The richness of a nation is not only based on the antiquity of its civilization, but also on its people, its culture, its traditions, and most importantly, its capacity for growth and change. It is imperative to challenge the propaganda machinery of authoritarian regimes, to seek the truth, no matter how uncomfortable it may be, and to engage in open dialogue that dismantles the walls of animosity and division. You don't have to trust this video or read the same books I did. All you have to do is read one other book than the ones approved by the regime. Only by shining a light on the truth, we can break free from the chains of hatred and build a future based on mutual respect and shared humanity. Thank you for watching.